everybody. So I've started on a drawing and I wanted to share it with you. As per the usual, I started kind of recording at not the beginning, but the middle of the beginning. So as you could see when we started, I had sort of basic construction of the figures already in motion. And that's okay because I'm erasing all of it and drawing it over and over and over to get those exact angles that I want. If you're an artist, you probably can sympathize with this. Like the minute you put down the first construction lines, you're like, oh, nope, gotta redo that. And maybe not. Maybe it just psychically flows from your brain to your hand and it works great the first time, in which case, awesome, happy for you. But me, I draw and redraw quite a lot to make sure I've got those angles and shapes the way I want them. Must be pretty happy with the face here because her face is coming into being now. I have to add, I record the voiceover after I do the drawing because I discovered early on that I really can't draw and talk at the same time. My theory is that it uses different neural pathways and they don't play well together. So, I mean, I can draw and speak. I don't lose the capacity for language, but it's easier to think about what I'm saying if I'm not also trying to draw at the same time. And I don't know if y'all can hear my cat, but she's objecting to this this activity that I'm doing currently. So I'm gonna go let her out. So yeah, this figure is now sort of starting to take shape. One of the challenges I gave myself with this illustration is that I've got 3 figures stacked on top of each other, and I want to make sure I'm doing proper construction so that people's arms aren't coming out of their, legs or other things like that, things that you might see in, bot-generated visual content. That's a subtle dig there, very subtle. So I'm a little hesitant to really nail down any of the details until I've got the general figures basically figured out, because I don't want to draw a really great face or the detailed uniform and be very happy with it and then have to draw through those lines that I'm happy with to construct the figures behind. Because, oh yeah, what do hands look like? No one knows. Certainly not computers. Anyway, using your own self as reference is a time-honored tradition. So I'm getting this foreground figure pretty well the way I want her to be. I'm pretty happy with her pose. Some of this is definitely going to change as I carry on. Like, what is that elbow? No one knows. One thing I mentioned, I did a drawing of this that you can see, this character that you can see on Facebook if you go check out my Facebook. I can't remember if she actually does any sword fighting in the book, but swords are cool and women with swords are extra cool, so she's getting a sword in this illustration. I decided to go with a cup-hilted rapier because that's a nice... honestly, it's easy to draw. Swept-hilted rapiers are super pretty, but much more of a pain to get all those swooshy curves at the correct angle and wrappy-aroundiness. That's the technical term, yeah. So cup-hilted rapier it is. Plus, she just seems like someone who likes to stab people. So yeah, we're going with that. Okay, so now we're getting this other figure sort of roughed in, eyebrows. I like to start with the brow line because it gives you a sort of a good basis for constructing the rest of the face. Don't know if I'm going to ultimately be happy with how I've done his eyebrows and stuff, but we're rolling with it seems. He's in my head. You guys know that meme of the guy walking with his girlfriend and he's looking at another girl? I'm sure you do. Anyway, so that sort of wistful looking over the shoulder expression is kind of what I wanted here. Might give him a sword because swords are cool. Not happy with where I placed his shoulder. We're going to place it slightly further back to give that body twist better. Yeah, not that nose. I like to hop around the page as I'm drawing because it doesn't seem like a good idea to fully complete one area of the drawing while other stuff is still sort of up in the air. You kind of want to have it all going at the same pace so that you can see what effect the Unity has on your art. So here we're going with that final figure. He's got a very fine hat. It's a nice, easy to draw hat. Not a lot of thought has to go into constructing his hat. I didn't even draw through the back of his head. We're just guessing. But you know, draw through is a super useful tool, but if you have kind of memorized and drawn a lot and practiced a lot the proportions of things, you don't need it every time. You're going to know where stuff winds up without having to be, what's the word I want? There's a word. Super nitpicky about, oh yes, I must draw through every single line on this page or else I am a failure as an artist. You know, some artists don't use draw through at all. They're perfectly capable of drawing human figures, just outlining, which I think is super cool. They clearly have memorized those proportions to the extent that it's just ingrained in their hand. I was talking over it, started on a little miniature scene down here of a couple of people facing off with swords, because of course, swords are cool. Fiddling with the captain's face here some more. Fairly happy with his nose, gonna kind of tie that down. Yeah, he has sort of a wistful expression. We're gonna hope he has a happy ending in the book, but we're not gonna count on it because, you know, what is a happy ending anyway? Also, I don't know if you guys can hear my cat's commentary, but she's getting very vociferous, and it's time for her to go meow. Hairline, hairline. I like playing with lots of different contrasting curves and angled shapes, especially with the hair. It gives it a bit of a style, so we're not being, you know, super literal with the shapes. And I enjoy that because I just think it's visually a little bit more interesting. And, you know, I came up in animation, so you definitely want to make sure your designs have not just a literal everyday sort of, I don't want to say stodginess, because, you know, everyday stuff is really cool, but put a little flair on it. And if you're new to drawing, that's something that will come in time and practice. I gave him a loose hair. It might not stay, because he's kind of a tight-loosed, no, that's not how you say that word. A tight-laced fella, kind of putting in his outfit here now. Fiddling around with details. Getting this into a pretty good place. We got to put the rest of the figures, though. So, yeah, he's a broad-chested fellow. And lots of hair. With a little bow. Isn't that delightful? Oh no, I've run out of things to say. Yeah, hair. Hair is fun. And also loose flowing hair. Super great for giving your drawing a sense of movement. Also, not gonna lie, super great for covering areas that you're a little not sure how to draw. Follow me for more life hacks. In this instance, I'm not trying to cover up the details with his loose flowing hair. In fact, one of the issues I'm running into with this drawing is that I'm trying to draw the whole thing and not cover up stuff, but I have these overlapping figures. How do hands work? So here I'm drawing him. I decided he needed a sword, so he's getting a sword, and you have to figure out how do sword work. Excuse me a minute while I get the cat back inside. Come here, my darling. She has a friend in the backyard who's an old, scraggly Tom, and she either wants to murder him or be friends. I don't know. Speaking of swords, this little cat is definitely a swordswoman. She just has, you know, extras, and they're embedded in her feet. Anywho, I'm looking at this sword here and his hand, and I'm like, this is, from the point of view of the layout of the piece, probably the best place to put his sword in his hand, but from the point of view of anatomy and how would someone actually hold up a sword, it's going to be a pain in the butt later to sort of make it look natural and make it look good designy in that sense. Here, filling in some details of her sword. Maybe putting in some for outfit. La la la, drawing, large cuffs, lots of lace, all the details. This is fun. Sort of guessing where the point of her sword is going to be. And what I said earlier about not wanting to cover up stuff with hair is definitely something that I'm struggling with in this piece, because they have to have hair and they have to have clothes and they have to have outfits and things, but I don't want to cover up the cool stuff. Oh well. Some writer somewhere said kill your darlings, and yeah, that is a thing, I suppose, for visual artists as well as writers, is that, yeah, that thing may be really cool, but if it doesn't serve the overall function of the piece, then it's got to go away. I was not happy with her hair, so we're going to move on and bounce over to this sword fight. One of the nice things about practicing fencing in real life is that it has really allowed me to draw swords and sword-related activities with a little more panache. And look at that, her raised toe. She's lunging towards him. Was there a sword fight in the book? I don't recall. It's been an embarrassing number of years since I've read it. But we're going to pause here and come back later. Bye!